Well, the end of the month is reaching, and already Ray Donovan's getting excited, and the subscription is nearly ending. I just found that out. So I'm gonna need to renew it, but the problem is my service, Dish, it does it every 6 months, so... And already I found out the month that Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2 comes on, so that's going to be an issue. But updates later on. Let's just talk about Season 4, Episode 4, Federal Booby Inspector. Yes, that is the name of the episode. Obviously to make fun of the FBI. So, there's not the... So probably much like the last episode, Little Big Prim, there's not a whole lot that went on in this last episode. But there were a couple of major plot points that were dropped in this that something did actually happen in this episode. So, let's see what happens here in FBI, Federal Booby Inspector. So we find out that the private investigators are watching the DA trying to find something that they could hit the hard evidence on. But so far as we know, they're hitting up on nothing. As we cut to Abby, as she feels like the cancer isn't there. Obviously in that one stage where she is in complete and utter denial. Like she probably was in the last episode. I can't even recall because I have to watch these episodes only once. There's only like a certain time in my life where maybe once or twice I may watch the episode once again. I don't even know. But she is in that like stage where she just is in denial and she, you know, she acts like her cancer's not even there at all. And, you know, she's got to get over it somehow. And act like a mature person. And act like she can't live forever. Life isn't somewhere where you're like an immortal. You're not Q from Star Trek, okay? Anyways, much like last week's episode, we find out that Ray has to give up the money that he told the Russians. And unfortunately he does, which leaves the family bankrupt in a certain situation. And now this leaves the family figuring out what to do and how they're going to get money and how to, you know, get it back from them. However, we find out later on that Mick is leaving Las Vegas to see the newborn Donovan named Maria. That's M-A-R-I-A. Short, simple name, if you ask me. That is, unless it's spelled a different way, then correct me in the comments. Ray and Abs obviously go to the boxing gym to see Bunchy with the newborn infant, as they're just astonished over the fact of the newborn Donovan. And they consider Ray to be like the godfather for Maria Donovan. And, you know, this gets the wife of Bunchy a little bit uncomfortable. Since, you know, Ray gets himself into a lot of situations. Ray returns to the home of his former boss, which is home to now the widow, and apologies if I've forgotten the name, as he finds out, as we see his, he goes into the safe to get something out of there, but we obviously don't know what it is. which they've obviously been keeping a lot of secrets in the past 2 seasons that he's been in. Or at least they've both been in, since they've obviously worked off of each other. Now, it's actually quite interesting, because after the seasons I've been watching with, his former boss, it's sad to see him, not be in the show, because I remembered when he was, a plot point to the story. But now that he's gone and dead and all that, it's sad. It's really, really sad. I just feel so sorry. Anyways, he goes off to Mr. Price to ask him, he goes off to Mr. Price to show him a confession or whatever that the priests have been showing him. Obviously one of the items, as it was in his former boss's safe, as Mr. Price asks Ray what his worst fear is. Obviously, Ray doesn't give in. Or doesn't tell him what his worst fear is. Meanwhile, in real time, Ray goes to Hector's apartment as he seems like he's about to choke off and die. But luckily, Ray manages to save his life. But unfortunately, Hector wants to be a complete and utter dick to him. And, doesn't want Ray into his life anymore, despite the fact that Ray's done a whole lot of good for him in the past 2 episodes that we've seen him in. Yeah, 2 episodes that we've seen Hector in. He's trying to do his best. But it means Ray's not like the perfect man, and Hector's not like the sharpest tool in the shed. So, you don't expect like the best eggs out of the perfect dozen. Anyway, Ray's private investigator and the cancer psychiatric can't come over to his home to talk to Abs about the cancer, because obviously due to the fact that she is in complete and utter denial, and they hang out for a bit, and Abs refuses to let them in, but after a while she obviously lets them in, and they celebrate the day with each other. Of course, Ray returns to LA, and Daryl and the whole entire crew isn't too very pleased with this. Not even Ray, because he's supposed to stay in Las Vegas, but it's that whole, that big horseshoe with the $4 million. It's eating at the back of his mind. And he's got to get Ray and everyone else, because that crew from the last episode, they couldn't do jack. You think that's bad? Try seeing a really terrible Grand Theft Auto crew. And we see that that Ray decides to accept what I call the prim job. And the only reason I call that is because, seriously, what else am I going to call this long as ever title? Either I'm going to call it the Green Horseshoe job or the prim job. It's either prim job or green horseshoe job. It's either one of those two, which, when I think about it, I think I'm just going to call it a green horseshoe. Just because of the $4 million that's in there. Anywho, Terry goes off to see some Terry goes off to see somebody from the last episode because obviously the person that was going to defend the gym or whatever that punched Daryl in the face, he tells them about the situation and obviously what happened, as, you know, he accepts the fact, and they obviously return back and, you know, accept the facts, and, you know, he goes off and, you know, starts training in the boxing gym. And of course, during that time, we see that Ray winds up getting an idea from somebody skateboarding to hire one of the FBI agents. What FBI agent? Well, believe it or not, Hank Azaria returns in this episode. Yep, Cochran returns as he talks with him about maybe setting him up with the heist. In return, Ray's gotta deal with taking somebody down for him. But of course, also another thing, Ray's gotta sing some karaoke. And what does he sing to? Bob Seger. But he doesn't sing the Night Moves, which is the song I'm more familiar with in GTA 5. No, he sings to like a different Bob Seger song, and honestly, just the thought of Ray Donovan, Lee Driver no less, singing to Bob Seger has made me laugh my head off. And I'm just gonna cut off the episode break for a second. This episode review for a moment. And the mere fact that Lee Driver has tried to sing for this episode, and, you know, it goes transitioning from him singing to the actual song itself. That's too funny, in my opinion. And in another fact, believe it or not, if you're actually a fan of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, he's actually going to play the... I think he's actually going to... Yeah, he's actually going to play the antagonist for the My Little Pony movie this year. No, wait, not... Next year, my mistake. He's going to do the My Little Pony movie next year for the 4th generation, you know, Friendship is Magic and all that. And if this dude has a villain song and he sings partially like that, I will laugh my head off in the movie theater. I will kid you not. Because, like, this is the first time I've probably heard Ray Donovan sing. I've seen Ray dance and walk this way. That's hilarious. And this is the first time I've heard Ray sing. Like, the combination of both Ray singing and Ray dancing is just a hilarious thought. And if they do this for the My Little Pony movie, I will love the crew for life if they give Lee Driver a villain song. But, anywho, now that I'm done saying that and getting my thoughts about that out of the way, back to the notes. After he sings Bob Seger, Ray returns to get information about the heist and about the owner and the crew that was used in the last episode. You know, the Little Big Prim. And we return home to find out that actually, Abs finds out that Ray was the one who sent the psychiatric cancer doctor and the PI, Ray's PI agent, to, you know, have a day off with Abs. as of course, she, spends the day off and, discovers one of Ray's, I'm gonna get this wrong, Baptist robes. Baptist, God, I don't know these, church terms or whatever. Again, truth be told, I am a Christian, but I don't know a lot of these Christian terms. I'm sorry if I get a lot of these wrong, but I don't pay attention to a lot of these terms. So, they both sing Bob Seger, and it turns out to be that song that Ray sang karaoke for. And from right there, that ends Federal Booby Inspector. And in my opinion, there were a lot of good moments a lot of funny moments in the episode. And again, the last episode had a lot of funny moments. I mean, the last episode, like I said, they had that moment where Daryl and Bunchy where Daryl and Terry were quoting Blazing Saddles, which made me laugh my ass off. But there was also the fact that Ray was singing the Bob Seger, which actually made me thought about his role in the in the upcoming My Little Pony movie. But to my thought, FBI, or should I say F-Boobai, this episode should be interesting. Should be an interesting setup to how Ray and Mickey return to Las Vegas to try to set up the heist for that horseshoe and get the $4 million with Hank Azaria Corcoran. With Hank Azaria's character. So I'm interested to see what happens in that in next week's episode. And just from there, I'm looking forward to seeing just overall what happens in the next couple of episodes when they begin to happen over time. So, yeah, if you watched this episode, tell me what you thought down in the comments, and if you're starting to catch up on the episode, tell me what your thoughts are. What are your favorite episodes? Leave them down below. Tell me what you thought. Let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here on my name or on my icon if you want to see more. And quite possibly within a week or two, I might have a movie review for you. Dare I say it? An R-rated DC animated movie review for you. But anywho, I'm the Ferb Guy, and I'll see you guys for next week's all-new Ray Donovan review. Later.